Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with my old friend in hockey, Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing?
Yeah, I got a wicked cold last night, which is why we're doing this today. I had to take my son to power skating, and then I came back to do the game. Man, I just totally powered out
Yeah.
after the second period. So we're going to be doing our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast about the Oilers loss to Tampa right now. And we're also going to dive into a couple of their subjects. Milan Lucic is fine from the NHL, and a provocative statement by Michael Trakos of the National Post that the Oilers right now, should fire Todd McClellan and hire Joel Quenneville. So, Bruce, let's start, though, with the game.
Sure.
What's your good thing in that game?
Ryan Strome scores! Finally, his first point of the season. And you had to know that Kevin Quinn would say off the schneid before even the color commentator had a chance to chip in. He's off the schneid, man. Whatever that means, he's off of it. And he scored a nice goal. And you know what? It was a long time coming. And a lot of people were getting super frustrated with the player. And he was getting super frustrated with his luck, hitting posts, hot saves. Teammates couldn't cash. That was a big part of his problem when he set him up. And I think he's been playing okay. And, obviously, it goes without saying, you need him to chip in offensively. But I think that's likely to start. He's been a consistent 30-point sort of third-line level scorer for the last 3 years. And I think that's a reasonable expectation when he's on the third line. He never gets a sniff with McDavid or Draisaitl, or the first power play unit. So it's unreasonable to expect him to score 50 points. It's just not going to happen. But he should score, once a month, and he did. So that's a big goal for him. And last year he had a big long goal scoring slump, and when he got one, he went nuts for a little while. And he had like 5 in 5 games. So hopefully he'll have some little hot run now that'll balance the scales a little bit, because it had to be getting embarrassing no points. So
I think
that's a nice goal.
It was a nice goal, and he played with a bit more fire all game long. He was hitting a bit more. He was getting more involved. And he's a very smart hockey player. I think when the Oilers acquired him, Shirley described him as a cerebral player. Cerebral player.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very smart hockey player. He needs to do two things: play with more confidence, make up your mind, buddy, you're going to take that puck and you're going to get a decent shot on net, instead of he's a bit passive on the attack. I find he could go to the net a bit harder with the puck,
mm-hmm.
and be a bit more forceful all around. And he needs to play more physically, honestly. Like, he needs to get a bit more involved physically as well on the attack. If he did those two things, he'd be up another level as an NHL player, but he's not at a bad level as an NHL player. I think he's a decent third line center, playing the cerebral game that he plays. So I want to add a little bit of fire to the ice. And nice goal by Mr. Strome.
Yeah, nice to see a bit of edge out of him. I agree with you on that part.
So I'm just trying to think. My good thing in that game was I had it versus a second ago, and it's escaping.
Power play?
Oh, that's it. Thanks for the reminder, man. I am foggy today, even though I haven't taken any medication. This head cold.
Yeah.
So the Oilers' power play, I thought, was fantastic. I thought they really looked good moving the puck around. And even though so they finally have a right shot out there. They've had a right shot for the last 2 games. Alex Chason and now Ratty. Finally, why does it take so long for McClellan to figure these things out? Last year there was just endless list of things. So I've got a bit of baggage. This year he starts out with the 5 left shot guys, and it even though they were scoring and had a high percentage right from the start of the year on the power play, Bruce, they weren't scoring off set plays, like in the offensive zone, moving the puck around. And if they did, it was on a kind of a fluky shot, a grade B shot by McDavid that would somehow go in. Good for McDavid for finally taking those grade B shots that do tend to go in when he shoots them. He's got a hell of a shot. But they weren't generating much, and finally, with Ratty out there. Now, I think Ratty is an improvement on Chason. Chason has more of a gun, but Ratty is he's a more complete offensive player. He's a better player. He makes good plays with the puck consistently. unlike Milan Lucic, who would constantly give away the puck. So even though Ratty isn't on the left face-off circle where he probably should be, to get maximum use out of him, we have him down low in front of the goalie. He did well down there. He made a number of really smart, good plays with the puck, including setting up Leon Draisaitl for a goal. And the power play finally looks smart to me. It looks sharp and effective and dangerous. And again, I think they should put Draisaitl down low or Nugent Hopkins down low and Ratty on the wall. But these are the 5 players. I think this is the right group of players to have this power play at maximum efficiency, running what I call set plays.
Right on. Well, that was a beauty of a set play on the goal, and that spin around pass by Ratty, that was money. It was right on the tape, and Leon had like basically the yawning cage to deposit that one. And Ratty, you know, it's a matter of, I mean, he's certainly got great offensive skill. We saw that when he played for Portland in the WHL. Granted, that's years ago, but offensive skill is not generally something that completely goes away on a guy. In his case, whether it's confidence, whether it's opportunity, whatever it is, we're seeing some smart offensive maneuvers out of the guy, and I'm looking forward to him getting a run of games. It was really bad luck for him that after getting his chance of a lifetime and working his butt off all summer training to get hurt so early in the season, but now he's back and presumably healthy, and let's see what he does with it.
Versus, you know, you and I are working on the project this year, scoring chances project, and we track how many chances a guy makes a contribution for, grade A chances, a major contribution for, how many major mistakes on grade A chances against, and Ratty's off the charts for a winger. Like he didn't get a lot of points. There was a little bit of bad puck luck involved early in the year in those first 5 games, but he has really been killing it on the McDavid line. He makes that line a lot better. I don't mind Kajula on the line. Kajula's a fast player, but I don't think he has the offensive, just that just smarts. It's just, and the skill, the good hands. I don't think he's got the hands that Ratty has. I really am bullish on Ty Ratty right now. And I'm like you, I want to see him get 10 games because I think this could really work out well for the Oilers and for Ty Ratty. So Bruce, I'm going to go to my bad thing before I forget it. And that's the bad thing was how well that damn Vasilevsky played. Oh, frack. He just killed the Oilers in that game. And it wasn't like Koskinen. This was another example of the Oilers goalie being outplayed by the opposing goalie, but it wasn't like Koskinen was terrible. Maybe on the one final goal, the 5th goal. But Koskinen made a number of big saves himself. But Vasilevsky, Bruce, oh God, that was killer. He was Grant Fuhrgood in that game, man.
He was on fire and he was lucky. And you put those two things together with the goalie, you're almost thinking we're lucky to get any goals when the guy's that hot. I mean, Ratty bounced one off his helmet that somehow went over the crossbar and into the netting, that he was lying on the ice and it hit him on the head and it bounced over the crossbar. I mean, I haven't seen too many saves like that. Let's put it that way.
I hated that. That would have made it 1-1, Bruce.
Nurse had one that went through him and hit the post. He had one that went through him that they were battling for the rebound, and as defenseman McDonough cleared it off the line for him. There was another shot, I think, that he got his knees down and hit his inside knee and it dribbled out the far side. That was a McDavid shot. He just had a few of those ones where you think, man, how did that not go in? And when you find yourself saying that 4 or 5 times in the same game, you know that the other team's goalie has got it going on.
I had Draisaitl with pretty much 4 point-blank chances.
He played well
on the power play. And he just, he did. Draisaitl was unlucky not to score more. And that guy, he stoned him. So good for Mr. Vasilevsky. What's your bad thing, Bruce?
Well, this one jumps off the page at me. So this is a -4 recorded by number 4, the 4-year, $4 million defenseman. So that's a quartet of 4s for you. But the one with the minus in front of it is a bit problematic last night. And I and you and Kurt and many others have been seeing Russell play pretty good most of the year and having done a good job stepping up into that second pairing role after a couple of real shaky games from Benning to start the season. And I mean, Russell is what he is. He's a 4-5. I would suggest that last night was a case of uh, some of the older players playing big minutes, 7 games in 11 days with all kinds of ridiculous travel, and it caught up with him. And he just had a poor night with what did he have? I think he got caught deep in the zone one. He coughed up the puck on another. He screened the goalie on the third one. The fourth one, I think it was just wrong place, wrong time, and his partner made a mistake. But
Yeah.
there wasn't much going right. And I mean, not that he's going to get a bunch of good stuff happening at the other end to make up for defensive mistakes. And then to add injury to insult, he got run from behind by that Matthew Joseph that started all the fireworks in the third quarter. We'll talk about that in a minute, I suspect. So Russell, last night, I mean, the night before in Washington, it was the first pair that struggled. Last night, it was the second pair, and the Oilers need both pairs playing to really have a fighting chance.
Hey, Matt Benning is coming on and has been playing pretty solid hockey, so it wouldn't be surprising.
Maybe they'll
switch him up because Matt Benning has put together like about 10 good games in a row. Yeah, so good for him. Good for Matt. And he was so great in the 2017 playoffs, Matt Benning was, and he worked his way up and looked like he was ready to be a top 4 D-man. Between him and Nurse, looked like both of them would have a good shot at, and Benning has just been shakier than Nurse certainly since then, so we'll see. All right, so my number, Bruce, is 15-10. That was 15-10. That's grade A shots for the Oilers versus the Lightning. The Lightning were a very dangerous team, but so are the Oilers, and they were unlucky not to get anything out of that game. It just comes down to puck luck and goaltending, and as do so many games in the NHL this year. But it wasn't a terrible effort at all by the Edmonton Oilers. They had a lot going on the attack. They had a bad start to that game, but after that, they were the better team most of the game, except for when it came to scoring goals, which is all that matters, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What's your number?
My number is 7-11. 7 games in 11 days, 6 different cities, and I don't know how many thousands more air miles, but I know it was something like 1,500 kilometers from Washington to Tampa to play back-to-back nights against the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference last year. Yeah. And that's a rough. And Bob Stauffer was saying on his radio show today that somebody in Tampa said to him, we get a lot of back-to-backs here. They're usually Florida, occasionally Carolina, but to have a team fly all the way from Washington to play us the next night is very rare. And, it's tough enough to do that back-to-back thing, but when you're playing top teams like that and hungry teams like both Washington and Tampa were, and so I was hoping to really, honestly, I was hoping to get 1 point out of the 2 games, and they weren't even able to manage that. But it wasn't for lack of effort. But one of the things you see is, last night Connor McDavid, 18 minutes and 22 seconds. That's a small number for him, and he's had 3 or 4 games like that lately, and just all the minutes are catching up to him, and this is a problem of having a small core. The Oilers are relying heavily on a relatively small number of players, and those guys are all logging the minutes, and sometimes you see the heavy legs in a guy like Chris Russell or even Connor McDavid that is not pushing the play as much as you might normally expect. And hopefully they got 1 more game there tomorrow. They got a day off today, a complete day off. 1 game in Florida. Hopefully they can get something out of that, and then they got a couple days off and hopefully catch the breath for the next run and stay out west for a while.
All righty, Bruce, let's go to the Lucic hit on Matthew Joseph. The way I saw it, Bruce, was Joseph was a little bit maybe over the line with his hit on Russell, although not a whole lot. It's a kind of hit you see all game long. Lucic was a little bit more out of line with going after Joseph, but it wasn't like he didn't target the head, and maybe that was intentional, maybe it wasn't. But I think Lucic, he gave him a few hard shots, but he didn't bash him in the head. And I think if he had hit him in the head, we'd be talking about something else than a $10,000 fine. And so let's just go to what McClellan said, because I think McClellan summed it up. Oilers coach Todd McClellan, he said, there's nothing wrong with that, he said of Lucic's hit. We felt that a player took a liberty with Chris Russell, I agree with the liberty part of it. And part of the reason we have Lucic here is to take care of teammates, and he did that. And, I just written a post the day earlier or earlier that same day saying I would bench Lucic. I'd start him in the press box. And, he's got to earn his keep. And this is one of the things. This is the one way he does it. And I thought he earned his keep. I was okay with what he did there. How about you?
Well, you're lucky you're not Matthew Joseph, because he might have gone after you after that post you wrote. Well, Joseph, he was running around a bit early in the game. He took a shot at RNH. He took a shot at McDavid. And, he's a rookie, and he's trying to make his way around in the league. That hit, and I guess Yamamoto got buried too. I didn't see the Yamamoto hit, but I did see the one on Russell, and it was a bit out of line. And at a certain point, it's 5-2. It's basically garbage time if you're down by 3 and there's 10 minutes left. And Lucic, who only played last night 8 minutes and 9 seconds, like he may or may not have even made it to 10 minutes if they played right to the end, if he'd stuck around and finished the game. Very light night work. So he was probably not in a very happy frame of mind, to say the least. And he was, I was muttering to my radio. I heard the first part of the game, and I heard the Joseph hit, especially when he hit McDavid, of course. I'm going, guys like Cassian and Kara and Nurse and Lucic especially, they got to step up at some point. And I was thinking, cream some Tampa guys and sort of get involved in the game physically. But sometimes, hockey. And I've been around long enough. I lived more of my life in the 20th century than I did in the 21st. And in the 20th century, you took liberties with guys. And again, Stauffer said both Kara and Cassian wanted to go with Joseph, and he just skated away from him. So Lucic just really didn't leave him a choice. And I think, the refs, for all they missed the original hit, which should have been boarding, they got the calls on Lucic himself exactly right. 2 for interference, 2 for roughing, a 10-minute misconduct because he was out of line, out of the game. And I didn't see it as a suspension, and player safety didn't. They did throw a $10,000 slap on the wrist on him for cherry on top. But I didn't see, I read a lot of stuff on Twitter saying it was like the Bertuzzi hit and stuff. I mean, that's just nuts. Bertuzzi went right after Bertuzzi tried to kill the guy and basically broke his neck and ended his career by hitting him in the head from behind and pile driving him to the ice. Lucic was looking at him the whole time. I mean, sure, he hit him away from the puck. That's interference. He did throw a glove punch at him, but he didn't sucker punch him. There's none of this Max Domi, drop the glove and pound the guy in the face with it. He gave him a shot, and then he jumped on him and he just sort of held him down. And obviously the message was being delivered. I would have liked to have been to hear what was kind of, or maybe I wouldn't have, but I mean, that it was about delivering the message. But if he'd wanted to hurt Matthew Joseph, I think Matthew Joseph would have been hurt. He wouldn't have been laughing on the bench 3 minutes later once he realized his life had been spared. And I'm not totally on board with it, but at the same time, I understand it. And to some degree, it's hockey, and it's standing up for your teammates. That part of it I get. And I bet you Chris Russell appreciated it. And I bet you other teammates appreciated it. And at the bottom, end of the day, that's sometimes the bottom line is that, hey, we're not going to take this crap lying down.
Okay, I'm totally on board with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pro hockey. Well, yeah. In the context of pro hockey, and the fact that he didn't go after his head, he's just saying, fight me, so and so, so and so and so and so, fight me, and saying it and pushing him very forcefully, and I'm okay. I'm totally, especially standing up for your teammates. But God, Bruce, how many years did we sit here and watch Taylor Hall and Eberle and Hemsky get schmucked by tough guys on the other team and goons and agitators on the other team and no response from the owners? And how nice would that have been? And then to have someone chase the guy down and say, come on, fight me, so-and-so. I liked it. I'm totally on board with it. That's what I'm saying.
But they had to call it, and they called it the way they did, and that was right. And I mean, player safety decided. I was surprised they actually had a hearing, but once they did, I thought, well, probably a fine. I really, maybe one game, and and maybe that would have been a good thing for the Oilers. That would have forced McClellan to try some different stuff
That's what I was
rather
thinking
than.
too.
But
Yeah.
that's not the way it worked out. And honestly, I agree with player safety. It wasn't a suspendable action. It was a penalizable action that got penalized.
Until Lucic plays better, I'd like to see him on the fourth line, actually. Like, I'm okay with him in the press box, but fourth line also works. And, he essentially had kind of fourth line duty. And when you get down around 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So, Bruce, the last thing Michael Trakos is saying, and he's the hockey writer, national hockey writer for National Post Media. And he is saying, after Joel Quenneville got fired, he writes, if you're Peter Chiarelli, the question is, do you make a coaching change right away or wait a few more days until the Edmonton Oilers fall out of a playoff spot? So
a few more days.
Yeah, it's not I think, like, I'm not Todd McClellan's biggest fan, as you know, and I haven't loved everything, but this team's playing pretty well. And I think it would be, I don't know, like, it's hard to, like, is Joel Quenneville past his best before date too?
He's 60, he's 60 years old. I mean, at what point? I mean, I'm hearing things from Chicago that they thought that he was a little bit getting on the old school side and they wanted to shake things up. And I mean, make no mistake, he's a Hall of Fame coach. Yeah.
I would wait. I would listen.
Justify.
Well, I think, end of November, see where the Oilers are. And if they're out of a playoff spot, then pull the trigger. I'm okay with that. Like, but McClellan has had his chance with this team. He's got to have this team playing winning hockey, Bruce. Not just, fake 500, real 500 hockey. And if he doesn't have that by November, I would fire him by the end of November.
By then, Quenneville could be in LA or something, right? I mean,
yeah, well, you got other options even on your own staff. And, Quenneville could probably use a month off in any case. I doubt he takes the first offer, put it that way. If he does, that'll be interesting, but I doubt that he does.
He's not going to be Ken Hitchcock going to Columbus.
Is that what Hitchcock did right away? Just grabbed the first job?
He got fired from Philly and he was in Columbus sort of next day or something. Bruce Boudreau, I think he also did something like that. But I mean, the thought being, I guess, that these high-end coaches are not going to be available for long. So when one comes available, make the move. But this thought that, wait, in a few days, the Oilers will be out of the playoffs. It's like this guy is thinking, well, now the bloom is off the rose. The Oilers have lost 2 straight. That means they're going to lose 20 straight or something. I mean, I don't know. They lost to Washington and Tampa on back-to-back nights.
I think he wrote it, to give him credit. I think he wrote it before the Tampa game, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, a lot is going right with the Oilers right now. Mm-hmm. And he's made some hard decisions. It's not easy to handle Milan Lucic, I don't think, to demote him, take him off the power play, put him on the third line. Maybe he's going to go to the, like, these are difficult things to do because this is a expensive veteran player. But generally speaking, I'm going to give McClellan more pluses than minuses this year on the decisions he's made. Mm-hmm. And the team is consistently outchancing the opposition by my count. So in terms of grade A chances, I'm not that unhappy with the coach. So.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, they have just shuffled the coaching staff. Like they moved around every other single component except Todd McClellan. They're trying to glue together a new regime there. Same man at the top, to be sure, but I mean, to just unceremoniously dump him and bring in another guy that has a different philosophy, and that would be a little bit playing with fire. That might work out, but. On the other hand, if you're Daryl Cates and you're paying Todd McClellan, I think it's $3 million a year, and you're on the hook for another 1 to 2 years, whatever his original contract was, and you fire him and you have to pay him just to bring in Joel Quenneville, and Joel Quenneville is not going to accept $1 less, and he's probably going to ask for a lot more. I mean, now all of a sudden your coaching budget is through the roof, and it's fine and dandy, as George Carlin would say, for us in the cheap seats to say, well, the owner has an unlimited budget as long as it doesn't affect the cap hit. He can just spend whatever. But in the real world, that's not necessarily how it always works.
And I'm not seeing any quit in these Oilers. Like, I'm not seeing a demoralized team in any way. I'm seeing a team that battles hard. They just play hard hockey right now. I like the way they're playing.
They brought it for the full 60 minutes in both of the last two games, right to the end.
Yeah.
And swimming upstream, and lots of reasons to sort of say, well, let's save a little bit for tomorrow night because this game in Washington is over. And they were just pushing right to the horn. And I respect that in a team, and I expect that from my team. But I'm going to recognize it when they're doing it, and they're doing it.
All right, well, let's leave it there, Bruce. I'm going to go blow my nose about 1,000 times.
Yeah.
When do they play? Is it Thursday night? They play Thursday night?
Better. Yeah, they're staying in Florida. They got a day off. Only because the NHL has a league rule that teams can't play 3 in a row, or else I'm sure they'd have them playing tonight. Anyway, they got 1 day off, full day off, no ice time today, and then back on the ice to end the road trip in Florida. Hopefully they soak up some rays on the beach today and get a little bit of energy going and have what it takes to beat the Panthers.
All righty. Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.